Hello everyone, my name is Loco, and welcome to a Best-of-5 series of high-level, professional-level StarCraft 2. It's time for a Terran versus Protoss. We're in the top left-hand corner of, I think this is White Rabbit? I don't know, I'm not convinced. Playing right here with the red SCVs, joined by the Rebellion icon on the main command center. We have none other than ByuN. Down in the bottom right, with the blue Protoss pieces, somebody I don't get to cast nearly as often, but the games that I have seen, well, honestly, I was very impressed. We're looking inside of the main base of NightMare. It's Ruby Rock. I was wrong. Dang it. The thing about some of the new StarCraft maps is that the main bases are very muted, and it's the same thing as well on White Rabbit, but Ruby Rock apparently also has a pretty dark main base right here for both players. Either way, I've been very impressed by NightMare lately. So both NightMare as well as Percival, two Korean players that we generally don't see as much, both of them have looked very impressive. I, of course, recently did cast that series between Percival and Raynor. If you haven't seen that yet, I should, well, probably point you back into the archives. I've got a lot of YouTube videos up, but long story short, Percival has been playing some fantastic StarCraft lately, and last time I saw NightMare play, he was certainly an absolute beast as well. So we'll have to find out how he's going to be able to take on somebody of ByuN's caliber. ByuN, of course, a previous world champion of StarCraft 2. Not really somebody that, is easily beaten, but I will have to be honest with you, I haven't been too impressed by ByuN's TVP lately. It just seems like he can't really find his groove on the latest patch so far. The other Terran players at the absolute top level just have been more impressive to me. He is going for a lot of like 2-base all-ins. So we've been seeing a lot of siege tank-based pushes where he pulls a bunch of the probes and the SCVs as well, right? He goes across the map, pulls the workers, and deals a lot of damage with that. But it seems to be the only strategy that's working for ByuN. I'm not exactly sure why, specifically, he's struggling more. And maybe he will have it figured out by now. It's been a good couple days since I've last seen ByuN play TVP, but yeah, generally speaking, ByuN is somebody that picks up a patch right away, and so far, that does not quite seem to be the case. It's weird, because if you look at, for example, Maru is making Terran versus Protoss look like such an easy matchup. Maru is beating everybody. And you would imagine that, you would just simply copy the strategies. Okay, easier said than done, but ByuN not really finding his groove so far in the games that I've seen. But maybe this one right here will be different. So we have a very quick 1-1-1 opener here for the Terran player. So opening up with the double Kijkwijzer. It means that you can get that factory out nice and early. One probe going down right here to the Reaper, but you can get that Kijkwijzer and then the factory, the starport, and all the rest of the tech very nice and early. And it is going to, yet again, give Terran a nice shot at early game aggression. Scout right now on the other side of the map did also kill one of the Marines on the low ground. This is going to give NightMare a lot of information, though. He must have had a glimpse here, of exactly what is building up thus far. A little bit weird, though, of course, to see a Widow Mine being produced out of a factory with a tech lab on it. But the reason we've got the tech lab is to build up that Cyclone here and to make sure that we have at least some semblance of defense. Second barracks right now on the back of this, though, but I do believe that action here is going to be on the side of ByuN. He needs to do something with it. Generally speaking, if you delay your command center for a bit, you have to have a reason why that is the case. Follow-up right here for NightMare is just the good old Blinky boys. Are we gonna go for a 2-gate expand? Feels greedy, right? Especially when you know your opponent is going into a, well, rather aggressive early game. Looks to me like he just wants to build up another Nexus, although, well, if the Cyclone is any say in the matter, it is going to get denied. New probe is having to be sent on over in that direction now. A couple Stalkers get warped in. Blink is not yet finished, only a few seconds away, though. Nice denial there yet again by ByuN, who's being very obnoxious. Oh. Now that's a misplay. Okay, NightMare gets to eat the cake too. He gets everything. Of course, the third Nexus was delayed for about a half minute, but that was still a unnecessary loss right there for the Terran. Cyclone, Widow Mine, and then also, of course, the Medevac itself going down. Siege tank production, though, has been ongoing for a while already. So I do believe that the Stalkers are going to be denied. I mean, this is just 2 gateways here in total anyways. So NightMare isn't really going to be able to bring up the production to really deal a lot of damage. Decides to play it quite conservatively here. We did have the Robo facility built. Okay. I was wondering, is NightMare currently a Storm kind of guy, or is he a Robo Bay kind of guy? We've been seeing a lot of Terran players deal with Colossi lately in this matchup. Even though a lot of Terrans are complaining about the new Psystorm ability, a lot of Protoss players for some reason believe the opposite. Like, a lot of Terrans are saying that it's a buff. A lot of Protoss players are saying that it's a nerf. It's curious how that works. But apparently NightMare, he's gonna be going into the good old Storm. The grass is always greener on the other side, right? Yeah, the big disadvantage of Storm now is that Terrans can actually sort of like storm through it. So if you are on like your last Storm, it is not nearly as powerful because Terran can just sort of stim and run through the Storm. Whereas obviously on the previous version of it, the damage per second was so high that it's just such a risky thing to do. Six additional gateways right now though for Protoss. Storm is being chronoed. Stimpack, combat shields, and then of course also the good old +1 infantry attacks coming up here for the Terran. We do not yet have a 3rd command center done. He only just now fired it up, so a little bit of a slower game here. I love the single blink, baiting out the single siege tank shot. Gets the tank, should be able to get out too. Is he gonna recall? Is that the plan? Yeah. May pay the price here though. Loses 2 Stalkers because of it. Nice quick clicking there from ByuN. There's an observer following around this small little hit squad. Okay. Now, NightMare has had this 3rd Nexus up for ages. Yeah, and by the time that the 3rd command center finishes for ByuN, it looks like the 4th base is already starting up for NightMare. This particular series, by the way, from the awardee Korean Royale tournament, played in the playoffs. Meaning that both players have already been winning their fair share of matches. Ooh. And now this is obviously way better, right? Like in the past, it wasn't really a great idea to storm siege-top tanks, and I don't think it's still quite optimal, but it's certainly better than it used to be. We have a follow-up storm as well. The High Templar will pay the price. But the siege tank, at the very least, the siege tank clump over here is gone. The hit squad of Marines and Marauders, I don't think the DPS is high enough. He's going to have to run. In the meantime, though, there was also a drop inside of the main base, and that is where the real damage is being dealt. 18 probes just like that. 3rd command center, by the way, only just now morphing into an orbital. It all feels so insanely slow. NightMare's economy, though, has also been slowed down quite a lot, and the production here in the main base, well, is going to be halted for at least a while. Oh, if it wasn't for those 18 workers going down, I would have really liked the position here for NightMare. I think he could have easily neglected at least like, or negated like, at least like half of those probes if he pulled them away a little bit sooner. Still, there's not a lot of urgency here. ByuN just lost a ton of army. He's of course going to be able to rebuild it. But ByuN's economy is still reasonably small. He does grab the worker lead right now. Ghost production has kicked in, which is always nice. Colossus follow-up, though, is likely planned here for Protoss, too. Worker count has to be brought back up first, though. Okay. Cheeky little medevac here in the bottom of the map, trying to get a decent hit. Ooh, he starts up a 5th Nexus. Do we not have to rebuild some of those workers? Okay, there we go. Finally start up, he starts up another round of probes there. Does feel a little bit slower than it absolutely needs to be. Greedy follow-up, though, by NightMare. He does go for a Colossus now without the extended thermal lens upgrade. ByuN not yet researching the +2, by the way. He's only just now adding on the 2nd engineering bay together with the armory. Man, we're 10 minutes into this game. Terran's really feeling kind of with... It's not bad, per se. It just all feels a little bit sluggish. Despite the fact that he just dealt a lot of damage, the follow-up is not nearly as impressive. The big addition right now, I suppose, is the Ghost. There are 6 High Templar out at this point in time. Is there enough, though, for ByuN to just simply break through this? Ooh. A little bit of double storming. Here's another medevac drop inside of the main base. Zealot run by in the meantime over into the natural, and then also the third. 5th Nexus here at the bottom of the map will be denied. Zealot run by over there also cancelled. Looks like the Zealot run by in the natural expansion will also be halted. Yeah, and ByuN is doing ByuN things here. Keeping everything going nice and smoothly. Another storm to get this army to back up. But there's plenty of Vikings still available to run down that single Colossus that apparently falls off the Ruby Rock. Ooh, landed Vikings now joining in the fray too. Obviously, they deal bonus to mechanical. So, not too shabby here. Dealing with the Stalkers and then also the probes. New command center now done. And even though it has taken 11 minutes, ByuN has caught up in the amount of bases. NightMare apparently decides to stop producing workers at 69. Some people would consider that quite nice. I think it's suboptimal. But he really needs to start getting some real damage in right now. Because slowly, he will start fizzling out. Now, the storms are everywhere. There's just little High Templar. Ooh, sprinkled all over the map. ByuN moving in again to try and snipe a base that doesn't even exist. Still a scary Protoss army. But I think ByuN is quite happy with the progression here thus far. The upgrades are a little bit slow, but 2-2 is going to finish up eventually. And that is going to be a massive power spike. He fires up as well, actually, the +1 air weapons here for the Vikings. That, of course, means that the Colossi can be killed a little bit easier. Yeah, while none of this is terrible for NightMare, as soon as we see, like, one concentrated attack here, with all of the Terran units combined, it'll be pretty much impossible for our Protoss player here to hold it. He's losing now in upgrades, he's losing in army, and he's losing in economy. Here's the 2-2 timing attack imminent. A lot of the Protoss units actually have already sort of died before the fight even begins. There might not be enough, though, to really hold all of this. There's still, yeah, a bunch of units out on the map that may need to rejoin over here first. Nice EMP, gets rid of one of the High Templar, almost. At least he does shut down the energy. Medevacs are probably going to need a bit of a moment here to heal this army back up. Vikings do find an opportunity, though. It's not that many Vikings here. 4 of them only, but one of the Colossus here, in addition to the other one, already ended up going down, so not too shabby. 2, well, Marauders together with 1 Marine joining together as well to go after the Templar. And he's eliminating the splash damage out of this Protoss army really well. Now the 5th Nexus will finally restart. ByuN is fully maxed, though. Starts up a Fusion Core as well. Nice dodge right over there on that Storm. The only criticism, I guess, is starting up the +3. That would be nice to see, but I think ByuN has real opportunities now to maybe even go for the kill. Still, this is a fight. Ooh, that's coming in from every side right now. Storm onto the units. About the best engagement that NightMare could have taken there. Yeah, and this is actually turning out okay for NightMare. The surround there absolutely proving critical. EMP does sort of destroy Zealots, but if the Zealots come in from every angle, it's really difficult to, well, slow them down. Now the +3 starts up. We'll probably have a transition here towards Liberators as well, if ByuN is gonna give himself enough time to go ahead and do so. This base, by the way, feels really far away on Ruby Rock. Like, the first 4 bases are relatively tight. Alternative one would be the one over here, but also quite exposed and quite far away. Base over in the bottom left, though, I feel like it's always a difficult one to secure. Likewise, actually, NightMare, even though his 5th was quite slow, he did add on a very quick 6th. Okay. And I honestly thought that ByuN was going to be able to obtain the victory with that previous attack. Now another big EMP over here, though. Not too shabby. The Terran's production here is still looking really solid. Double starport already available, so that's good for the Viking production and soon to be the Liberator production too. I wouldn't mind seeing some of these upgrades kick in right now in the fusion core as well. Yeah, I'm missing a little bit of that refinement for ByuN. Like, he's very focused on the micro, right? And the micro hasn't gotten any worse. Looks to me like he's winning this game as well. So I can't criticize anything too much. But normally ByuN is very snappy on the upgrades. Normally he's very smooth with all of the transitions. But the 4th felt very late. The 2-2 upgrades, the 3-3 upgrades. Now the fusion core also all a little bit slower. NightMare still has a load of little clumps of units. But as time goes on, the army size is becoming very noticeable. Good EMP, there's still... Oh, another High Templar. But that one also got EMP'd. The High Templar from the 3rd base has now been forced to move on over in this direction. Energy charge on that one. But it's a lot of probes going down. And in the meantime, here's the rest of the Terran army trying to push into the natural expansion. Colossus gets deleted. Liberator range now is fired up. Vikings on the ground, though. Landed Vikings are actually kind of insane. I still kind of hope that at some point there's going to be a meta where landed Vikings are like the go-to unit. Either way, it's a win right here for ByuN in game number 1, but he certainly had to fight for it. Next up, we find ourselves on the map White Rabbit. Looks like NightMare has decided to take matters into his own hands. At the very least, yeah, we do have a probe out on the map really early on. Okay. Let's see what we can do with this. Obviously, the previous game, I mean, it wasn't bad, but he was a bit of a punching bag, right? Like, the plan was effectively to be a punching bag and then to eventually overwhelm. But the medevac drop that came alongside the push at the 3rd base, the drop that went to the main, and he lost like 18 workers or whatever, that really slowed everything down so much. Now, this is a proxy gateway opener right here for NightMare. Yeah, so we are going to be quite aggressive. Usually, this is one of those pushes that you don't stop. Usually, you just keep going. Because you really don't want to pay the price of the pylon and the gateway too. If you want to go for like a proxy Stargate, at least getting a couple of units out of it is nice, but you don't really need to keep it alive. But sometimes we see Protoss players get a little bit too attached, I suppose, to the proxy gate. Either way. No SCV scout here for ByuN. Not that he really would have noticed anything too weird, although he could pick up on the Zealot production and the timing of the natural. He does have a Marine, and the Marine is going to move towards the left side to see if there's any proxies. Sadly here for ByuN, this over here is entirely exposed, but he moved in the wrong spot. Very quick concussive shells, though. We see this proxied all the time. SCV scout as well right here at the bottom. ByuN is looking everywhere. Oh, no. ByuN! Okay, he is going to see. No, he's not going to see. Wait, he wants to go for a 3rd CC? There's no way. Stalker right now is going to be spotted. ByuN scouted everywhere except where he needed to scout. Just scout, bro. The fog of war. A little bit painful sometimes. Yeah, there is a bunker queued up. Concussive shells right now is done. That's going to slow down anything that the Marauders hit. But those Stalkers are still very annoying. They have way more range, obviously, so as long as the dancing is good, it's quite difficult to get a good hit in. Now, that was nice. Yeah, really solid work here by ByuN with the units that he does have. He pays the price on a bunch of the SCVs, but I think he's got this defense done. Nicely managed. Ooh, no reason to risk that. Okay. Command center here has grown a funny little orbital command hat. I think it allows him to build mules out of scrap metal or something. I'm not exactly sure. I guess they're floating around the space, and yeah, we can get some extra mining going that way. Nexus, in the meantime, finishing up right here for NightMare, who is now going to get the Warp Gate upgrade done as well in a moment, but it all does feel a little slow right here, right? I mean, the aggression is still on. But concussive shells is so good at just stopping this type of pushing. So even though ByuN didn't see the proxy gate, I think going concussive shells this early, yeah, still puts him out of harm's way. The Adept mostly just scouting out to see what the follow-up is. He sees the green light right here inside of the tech lab. Can really only be Stimpeg researching at this point in time. It's a quick Stimpeg. I think ByuN's original plan, by the way, was to build another command center. That's I think the reason why the SCV went down here. He had to flip the script there, but it worked out okay for him. Ooh. 4.5 minute Robo Bay. NightMare, very extended, or very excited rather, to extend the thermal lens, apparently. Questionable choice. Yeah, you have to kind of change your timings here a bunch, right? So, in the first game, you saw him going for a double gateway third. I mean, that is completely out of the option right now. It's not really something you can do. So I guess we're playing 2-base Colossi instead. I think that will serve ByuN just fine, but ByuN does not have a starport done at this point yet, so we're going into a factory. Starport probably on the back of it with a reactor onto the factory to start pumping out the medevacs. But the point is that the medevac production is quite slow. Ooh, Prism is going to snatch at least a few of the units. Medevac. Ooh, Prism Rotter. Protoss medevac flies away. Now, what's the better unit? The Prism or the medevac? Protoss players will tell you it's the medevac. Terran players will tell you it's the Prism. Similar to the High Templar situation from earlier. I would say the Prism is better. Oh. Sloppy. Very sloppy. NightMare not anticipating the amount of reinforcements. In his defense, normally, or in his defense, like normally those units get a rally to the natural. ByuN keeping the rally points set into the main base. Extended thermal lens coming. Ooh, a couple hallucinated stalkers at the front. And it works! Now he realizes it, but I think it's already a little too late. Sentry does die, I think. Yeah, but that was costly. I really like the hallucinated stalkers. Keep the opponent guessing. Okay. Scanning the main base does reveal the observer. Observer is going to get stimped to death, but the third command center only just now begins. So ByuN has been very focused on trying to just stay alive, even though he's been fine in that department ever since he built the bunker. Ever since he finished the bunker, he's been okay. And this is now an army you can attack with, but you're still pushing without medevacs, right? They're coming now, but you're giving Protoss so much wiggle room. We're not even bothering, apparently, with the gateway. I mean, he must have realized that it was a proxy gate early on. Okay, now he starts looking for it. He has been looking around the map for a while already. Maybe he forgot about the early game for just a moment. But yeah, this proxy gate will have to be taken care of. He sees it now. And that'll be the end of it. Still, all of this is buying NightMare enough time to really get those Colossi upgraded. So the extended thermal lens right now is done. It's going to give the Colossi their additional range, and it makes them far better against these type of armies. It is a very Marauder-heavy force. I don't know if ByuN has seen the Colossi over at the third base, but that is normally where they would be hanging out. Medevac drop into the main base can certainly work. Ghost Academy right now on the back of this too. Third command center would probably be moving down to the low ground soon. Yep. Oh. We're going to the right side instead. Fair enough. Scanning the main base. Risky play. Okay, there's already a little group of stalkers that ByuN actually did not quite see. Oh, no. Ugh. Just barely outside of the range of it. Blink, blink, blink. Do we blink? Okay, we do not blink. New Colossus did just pop out. Probably want to use it defensively instead. There is a shield battery, and this is gonna work out just fine here for Protoss. In the meantime, there is a dance happening over at the third base too, but this will also work out pretty much perfectly here for NightMare. Ooh, wasn't within range of the shield battery. A little bit suboptimal. Loses an extra Colossus because of it. But it's a hold on both fronts. Fourth Nexus. Yeah, you still have to be careful here, though, as the Protoss player, right? It's easy to think about the counterattack now that you've cleaned up all of those units and you've had the eco for some time already. But Marine Marauder Medevac is relatively cheap, quick to produce. Double Forge coming up inside of the main base right now as well for NightMare. Who obviously fell behind in that regard too because of the proxy gateway. Not really getting all the value that he was hoping for. Okay, so ghosts are coming. Third base, though, has been secured nicely here by ByuN. Looks like the Prism is thinking about going around the site. Second Robo. And we're gonna go bowling, apparently. How do we feel about bowling? You know, there was a bowling alley close to the place that I grew up in. We got a little bit of loco lore. I went bowling quite a lot because it was, like, pretty cheap and a fun thing to do with friends, but we all sucked. Yeah. I think we must have gone bowling, like, once a month or so, but no one ever got any better. I feel like we always sucked. It's like billiards, you know, like pool, like those type of, you know, the green table with the balls on it. Whatever it's called. We call it pool over here usually. It's another one of those games that you can play regularly, but I'm still absolutely atrocious at it. It's like darts. If you don't play darts or any of those games, like at least a couple times a week, you're never gonna get any better. Funny how that works. Yeah, I remember we'd go on like Friday night or whatever, and they would have like a disco night at the bowling alley. Yes, dude. This was hype. It's probably also the nerdiest thing you can do. Yeah, good times. Anyways, speaking of disco, I actually think the Disruptor might be a bowling ball and a disco all-in-ones. Yeah, I guess I always have had pretty nerdy hobbies. It's not nerdy to paint plastic soldiers. It's called Warhammer, ma! Excuse me. Little zealot run by attempted. Ooh, the big balls. That's illegal. You're only allowed to use 2 per round, man. Yeah, he wanted to... he was hoping for the big hit. Yeah, he was hoping for the ball hit of the century right there. Yeah, too greedy. NightMare takes a nosedive as far as the supply count goes. Yeah, weirdly enough, I never really thought of myself as too nerdy when I grew up, but I now realize I have been a giga nerd literally since the beginning. Surely if I get my RuneScape account to a high enough level, girls will talk to me. She's gonna be so impressed when I get 99 fire making. Girls love 99 fire making in RuneScape, by the way. It's very impressive. Highly recommend. Fusion Core coming up. This little zealot run by might be able to get at least a little bit of value. Oh, looks like the balls are still rolling in the middle of the map. And you do always have to be careful, right? Because that's the main issue with these Disruptor zealot-based unit compositions. If you look away for just a moment here as the Terran, you might just take a gigantic set of balls to the face. The question is, do you like it? I wouldn't. Oh, God. Oh, balls left, right, and center. There are some decent detonations now. Yeah, I think that was very suboptimal for ByuN, who was doing a great job dodging them initially, but If you throw enough disruptors at the problem, apparently, yeah, sometimes the problems will go away. We actually haven't seen too many of those disruptor builds lately. They've been pretty unpopular. I guess it's because of the strength of the High Templar. High Templar into like these mass zealot armies. That's pretty fun. Obviously, High Templar into Colossi. We see that a ton too. Like the full gateway the gateway man approach, where you just stick around on 4 gases and about 1 million probes. All of those styles are very common at the moment. Disruptors really have taken a bit of a backseat. Also, because of the Ghost HP buff, which I know I've mentioned about 1 million times over the last month. But seriously, why in the world did they overbuff the Ghost? I don't get it. Anyways, because the Ghost now has 125 life rather than 100, it no longer gets one-shot by a Purification Nova. Silly. Anyways, this is not enough Terran army in this section of the map. And it turns out, yeah, the Disruptors working together like this. Ooh, Vikings overextended. Zealots down south. Couple of Zealots over here in the natural expansion too. If you cause enough chaos, even Micro Jackson is gonna suffer. Man, NightMare is just positioning his army. He's like presenting it to the Terran. He's like, ta-da, here's everything. Let me just send in more and more, well, bodies at the problem. Here we go. Recreating the Legacy of the Void opening cinematic. +3/+3 coming up as well, by the way, for the Protoss. Even though he was quite late with the Forges because of the proxy gates, he is now appearing with just an awful lot of stuff. Mass repair over here on the Planetary Fortress. Zealots themselves are trying to see if they can body block it. It's messy, it's dirty, but the command center does go down. Another warp in becomes available here for NightMare yet again. And GG gets cold. Alrighty, next up, we go to the map Tato Citadel. I do always like the Disruptor. I don't know, it's one of those units, right? I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Disruptor. Look, I love watching people play with the Disruptor. I really hate playing against the Disruptor. Yeah, it's a problem. Maybe it's a me issue. I don't know. It's the same with Widow Mines. I think Widow Mines are pretty fun to watch. Hate playing against them. Banelings, I have less problems with. But maybe that's because I mostly play Zork myself and I'm a little bit biased. Yeah. Terrans generally don't really like Disruptors very much. It's interesting, right? So Disruptors have been nerfed quite a lot over the last couple of years. But I've got the feeling that nobody ever thought Disruptors were overpowered. Interesting how that works. Anyways. Bunch of Reapers show up. We do have an Adept as well on the other side of the map trying to return the favor. But these Reapers have been much more successful. Cheeky little Widow Mine here. Problem is, the command center on the low ground, right? It only accounts for, well, 0 worker losses. But the delay on the CC is big. And Terran needs this command center to finish up, not just for economy, but also as like a giant supply depot. Look at ByuN's supply count at the moment. He did not fire up a new depot. So he needs to wait until this command center is done now for, yeah, things to continue rolling. And it's really not going to be a big supply block. But it is very critical you actually finish it up eventually. Nice to see, though, by NightMare here, that it's still a viable strategy to go for. The key to making Disruptors work is to cause chaos as much as you can. Ooh, Adepts do slip into the main. Depots should have been lifted. In a straight-up fight, Disruptors at the pro level rarely work. But if there's Zealots every which way, if there's Dark Templar joined as well, if there's Warpins all over the map, then suddenly, you might just miss a bunch of the Disruptor hits as a Terran. Plus, it's very tilting as well. That's another advantage, I think, of Disruptors that is not often discussed. But Terran players hate losing against Disruptors. So if you bring them into a series like this... I mean, obviously, you always hate losing, right? But losing big clumps of your army in one go because you looked away... It is a tilter unit, that's for sure. Couple of gateways added into the mix again. It's a double gate, third nexus once more here for NightMare. He did the same thing in the first game of the series. Always a little bit sketchy. Always a difficult thing to pull off. Because you just don't have a lot of unit production. Now, we do have some blind static defense, which is quite nice. And he does have an awful lot of stalkers. Blink is already done. Gonna use the blink defensively. Gonna have to make the call at some point, though. The problem is that Widow Mine. I love the backup pylon over here. Backup pylon is actually really strong. Are we gonna blink? Yep, we do blink. Siege tank is gone. Widow Mine did take a hit. Medevac gets sniped. Okay. Some confident movement here by NightMare. The first game he was a little bit cautious. Maybe he was just trying to feel the game out a bit, but he's been a lot more confident in like the last 10 minutes or so of total gameplay. Now we're going for a quick charge follow-up too. Quick charge is really nice against any follow-up attack. At this point, though, it's going to be difficult for ByuN to do much because he already lost a medevac full of units and a siege tank. So the third command center it is instead. And this is going to give NightMare free reign to do whatever he likes. We could even go into a fourth nexus already if he wants to. Next attack here for Terran is likely not going to be until Stimpack, Combat Shields, and +1 is done. Which is like, I don't know, 2 minutes. It's going to be a while. Okay, maybe a little less. But it does feel like it takes forever. Yeah, I like the idea of taking another base. NightMare, though, has been obviously pretty greedy thus far. Adds on up to 8 gateways here. And there's the fourth. So 2 gateways, third nexus. 8 gateways, fourth nexus. Extra gas is only just now finished up inside of the natural expansion. And this is a great lead into the gateway man. You can go full ape here if you are the Protoss player. Basically, all you do is you stick around on 4 gas and you just make gateway units. Alternative option, though, is to go like double robo into a robo bay. Just warp in a whole lot of zealots and stalkers. Now, if ByuN can get a snipe on the fourth, that would be massive. This is without vision here. NightMare, though, may have had a glimpse of something moving in. And this is an important bit of defense here. Because if you lose this fourth nexus, everything gets slowed down. And I think actually you kind of lose all momentum here as Protoss. So this is fine for NightMare. Prism in the meantime moving in as well. Right as Terran is moving out. Third nexus is being secured. And this immediately is giving the Prism the opportunity to move in. And ByuN, wow. ByuN is probably a little frustrated here. The Zealots move into the main base at the perfect moment. He saw the opponent getting away with a free fourth nexus. He knows the rest of the Protoss army is out on the map. So he has to choose. Either do you take the third base right now, or do you lose the workers in the main and defend that? It's gonna slow down the third base regardless, but that is certainly too early of a GG. Next up, match point right here for NightMare. We find ourselves on the map Mothership. And ByuN decides to channel his frustration into a command center first build. Okay. A little bit risky. Certainly something that can be executed, though, especially on a 1v1 map with 3 spawn locations. Cheeky. Yeah. Is it all of us? Oh, we're having a little bit of observer chat. Fun fact, observer chat is not excluded out of the replay files. I don't know why. We saw TKL apparently leaving the game, and I guess Indy is just checking in whether or not... These are the other language commentators, by the way. So this is a tournament hosted by Wardy, who is casting in English. And then usually he's allowing like German commentators, French commentators, and whoever else really wants to join. Which is pretty cool. Usually actually how a lot of tournaments are organized in StarCraft 2. TKL, for example, himself, he puts on a lot of tournaments too, like for example the Monday Night Weekly. And he will allow other commentators, like for example me, to join in there. And it's one of the ways in which collectively we have multiple content creators able to make a living, which is pretty sweet. There's actually a lot of different audiences as well for StarCraft 2. Like, there's a very significant amount of people that like to watch, for example, in Latin America. The same for example, France, right? And those communities are kind of like separate from one another. It's interesting how that works. Very little interaction in general. Anyways. First unit has gone across the map. The Adept decides to be a little bit annoying. Indy actually does a lot of observing as well at professional StarCraft 2 tournaments. When the biggest StarCraft 2 events are running, usually there are dedicated observers. And Indy has done a lot of those, but usually he commentates in Polish. Anyways. We have a very quick, aggressive start here again for ByuN. So never really focusing too much on eco. Not really focusing on like a lot of 2-base all-ins so far either, though. ByuN opening with a lot of these like middle-of-the-road type of styles instead. Yet again, by the way, here for NightMare. Okay, Stalker does die on the recall. He's doing a 2-gate triple Nexus opener. Blinky first yet again. Wait, ByuN doesn't... Does ByuN not know where the opponent is spawned? ByuN! We are 4 minutes into this game! Okay. ByuN just learned that his opponent is in the top right. A little awkward. I was wondering where that Cyclone was going. At this point, NightMare must be wondering as well where those units went. Well, he's found them. They're in his natural. Because the Cyclone is not part of this hit squad, though, it makes it makes all of this pushing kind of impossible. Cyclone driving around. Okay. Liberator right now on the back of this right here as well for ByuN, so he probably will continue the pressure. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this Terran army joined by a bunch of SCVs as it goes across the map. Still, though, he starts up the +1 infantry attacks too, and it's going to be a long while until that's done. Are we going to pull the boys with this, or are we just going to push with whatever we've got? Observer sees it now. And this is going to give NightMare at least a little bit of time to potentially prepare. The dancing is going to have to be good, though. ByuN with some good pickup micro on the siege tanks can put in a lot of work. No charge, by the way, here for NightMare. Normally, that's the main way in which we see Protoss players defend against this sort of thing. He's opted again for a quick Robo Bay. Now he starts up charge, but it's a little too late for my liking. Very, very unlikely here that he's going to be able to finish it up. Liberator going in around the site. A couple of Stalkers are already waiting to intercept a potential medevac drop or, for example, a Lib. Cyclone. Okay, is going to go down. There is one Immortal. Yeah, NightMare doesn't really have the tools to deal with this, but he might just have, like, the stuff. More stuff, of course, is always better than less stuff. ByuN being a little hesitant with this push. I feel like this was a good opportunity to bring some of those SCVs across the map too. Oh, the medevac. Okay, does end up going down, and that means that those siege tanks are gonna pay the price too. Excellent cleanup here for the Protoss once more. And this is now putting ByuN squarely with his back against the wall. What is ByuN going to do against this? Third command center now coming up. But ByuN, even though maybe not everybody has heard as much of NightMare, even though he's been playing the game for years, he's never really been up to the level where he's at right now. Yeah, he is making some really solid strides here to getting better. I think most people would have assumed here, ByuN is the favorite in the match. Now, this is not over yet, of course, but this is the perfect spot for NightMare. And I really like that he's not celebrating with a counterattack with an all-in, but instead he's just going into the slow and steady grind. Fourth Nexus coming up instead. It's going to slow the game down much, but I think he'll be reasonably happy with playing a longer game against ByuN. ByuN is going to struggle just even securing the third base. He is going to go for an armory, though. Second engineering bay coming up as well. So the 2-2 upgrades can begin. Another Colossus just spawned. ByuN can barely afford any sort of starport production right now. Yeah. Opting to go for some medevacs. Can't really blame him. But if the triple Colossus attack goes across the map, it's really gonna hurt. Still though, there's not really a lot of reason for NightMare to be aggressive. But it's always a bit sketchy, right? Because ByuN is very well known for those random medevac drops. So I guess that's the plan. Yeah, he's planting a bunch of pylons around just so he can intercept incoming attacks. So you can actually see the medevacs before they arrive at the base. It's the same reason why this little group of stalkers is waiting over here. If there's any medevacs trying to squeeze by the portal, by the wall, they'll get shot out of the skies. Zealot over here as well. The lad has 1 confirmed kill, and apparently he now has been retired to being a spotter unit. Basically a budget observer. Double Fortrier, yet again for the Protoss, though. And this is all a little bit slower, right? It's going to be a while until that's done. Stalkers here, trying to see if they can get some value. Or once more, going to try and see if we can do some multi-pronged aggression. Third command center gets taken. Prism over here gets cycled around. He's desperately trying to keep these units at bay. There are some Widow Mines, though. But does ByuN know that this entire Protoss army is right outside of his front door? A load of Zealots just got warped in. They're going to try and see if they can collapse on top of this Terran army. And I don't know if there's enough units available for ByuN to hold this. There is no, well, ghost transition yet. We don't have any siege tanks on the floor either to really deal with it. And it's loads of SCVs dying. Even though I do believe, oh, the prism. Okay, the medevacs, the prism there goes down. And obviously the Zealots are going to get denied. It's painful for NightMare to lose that much, but he already killed 20 workers. It's a trade out in the armies, and I think that's about the best case scenario as far as the fight goes for ByuN. Denying a warp in just like a second before it probably would have ended the game is big. But the main issue here is the income. NightMare is now such a substantial amount of workers away. He even built another expansion right over here as well on the bottom of the map. As long as he's got the eco lead, he can lose fights like that and be totally fine. Okay. Dark Shrine right now, too. You love to see it. What I really do like, though, for ByuN is that he still has these good upgrades. NightMare has been pretty slow with getting the additional research going inside of the Forge. He did finish up the 1-1, I suppose, but Terran's going to finish at least the +2 infantry attacks. ByuN actually getting the upgrades in the right order this time. That's nice. But he is going to be able to finish those up before the Protoss even fires up the +2. Here go another bunch of Zealots into the mineral line yet again. The Colossi are hunting whatever they can. No easy way to escape over here, though, with those supply depots creating a wall off. Not the most beautiful fight here for Protoss. Yeah, ByuN cleans this one up with ease. He does have a 4th command center. And he actually evens up the supply count now. Okay. Yeah, never count ByuN out. Extra gas is taken here now for the Protoss player, who's going to start running low on the ones in the main base in a moment, but not quite yet. So he is starting to tech up. 6 gases here in total. Actually, is he going to build the one over here too? No, not quite. There's the 2-2. I would really love to see ByuN smash the piggy bank, or maybe save up for a little bit just to get the +3 attack going for the infantry. Such a big power spike in general. We have a new War Prism, though. Dark Templar being morphed in. Time to slice. There is, however, a missile turret finishing up. And that is going to provide the detection that he needs to get rid of those Dark Templar. Let's see. Planetary Fortress is building. Zealots in the main base are mostly denied, but they still get some damage done. What about this 4th command center, though? Oof. This Protoss army deals so much damage. 4th CC disappears in just about an eye blink, and 18 SCVs as well to boot. Those Dark Templar pinning the Terran's army at the 3rd base. ByuN was still busy trying to fight imaginary invisible units. Mispositioned the army. Planetary never finished. And that certainly took a lot of damage. Now, he does currently have a larger army in the supply count, and this is a good beginning of the fight as well. Starting with a kill on both the Colossus as well as a Zealot is not bad. He intercepts a bunch of Zealots over here. Prism might also go down. Is NightMare throwing away a gigantic lead? The Disruptors are coming again. We're going bowling once more. Let's see. 21 SCVs, though, did die during all of it, and that is painful. But this Terran army is looking absolutely massive. Bunch of the Vikings decide to land. Disruptor. Oh, God, so risky. If you kill the Disruptor before the Nova detonates, it will cancel the ability. A little bit of whole army hotkeying, I believe, right here for NightMare. A bunch of Zealots going in around the back. Vikings are going to fall, but it's a cleanup here in the end for the Protoss regardless. Who celebrates with a new Nexus immediately. Colossus coming. Disruptor on the back of it too. Oh, ByuN decides to go for the +3 armor before the +3 infantry attacks, which is certainly not optimal here, especially not against Disruptors who ignore armor. Purification Nova is considered a spell. Shadow Stride researching now though for NightMare, which is going to give the Dark Templar blink. And this is starting to look reasonably good for ByuN, but my main concern here for ByuN is just the economy. 57 SCVs versus 85 probes. Like, he's winning every fight, but I'm not sure if he's winning the war. You can just be so cost inefficient and still be fine. Significantly more losses, though, right here on the side of the Protoss. Maybe if we can do a push like that and then also immediately go for a counter. I mean, we have more and more bases. Even a double expansion right here for NightMare. Still, though, it's messy here for the Protoss. His new strategy is much like the old. We try to throw stuff at the problems that we have. Bunch of probes over here as well for some reason. Caught in the middle of the map. I think they were probably trying to transfer down south. We have a Dark Templar here going to town. This is the Orbital Command right over here. Kind of interesting. I guess it's because ByuN was behind and he's like, you know what? Did we miss like a Nova or something? He just taps out immediately. I backed up like 10-15 seconds or so in the game. He sees the Dark Templar over here, but he did go 4 orbitals. That's interesting. Apparently, ByuN, upon seeing all of these engagements, he is noticing, of course, that things aren't going exactly his way. No, there wasn't any big hit. There wasn't any big Disruptor connection that, like, destroyed ByuN's chances, but I guess he was just not enjoying the way that this game was going. To be fair, I think this game wasn't going to be a win for him. It was looking like a 90% probability for NightMare to be able to close this one out. It wasn't a very clean execution, of course, across the board here for NightMare in the later stages of it, but his income just allowed him to keep all of this going, and yeah, it's an early GG yet again, right? We've had 2 early GGs from ByuN here back-to-back. I feel like, and I don't know, you can't really read into this all too much, but in the games that I've seen ByuN play lately, he just seems kind of tilted. He seems kind of frustrated. We've seen similar movements as well, similar plays, for example, from Clem a few months ago, where he was having very frustrated games, just a little bit sloppy across the board, early GGs when he was not really down and out yet. I'm getting similar vibes right here from ByuN. Either way, it is a 3-1 win for NightMare over a previous world champion of StarCraft 2. And even though it wasn't the cleanest series he's ever played, it was still a victory. And, well, in the end, that's all that matters. GG.